Hey there, welcome back to the table. Okay, so yeah, it's a little bit late, so I don't know how much I'll be able to get in, but I can probably at least get one video done here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do setup and then start the playthrough in this video. There are some considerations you need to make before you start your game, and quite a few rule variants or you know, maybe just regular variants, I guess, that you just have to take into account. I'm realizing I did not open my war bonds here. So this is what comes with the game, and this is like your currency that you use to purchase items. I'm going to use poker chips. So I'm going to pause the video real quick. I just realized I don't have my poker chips handy. So let me go grab some. Okay, I'm back, and a couple of things to clarify. I was trying to understand the game without fully understanding it, of course, and then of course it makes you assume a few things, and then you end up being wrong. So first thing that I want to talk about is that yes, every nation goes with each card. And something that was like a big light bulb that dawned on me is if you look at the sheet, see the outer edge here? Along the outer edge, see how that's white? That one over there is green. This one over here is black, but it's meant to be gray. And then that one over there is like a light green, but it's that puke yellow color. So yes, each set of units is unique for the nation. And I had hinted in the last video that that was not the case, but it is most certainly the case. The other thing is that this bottom right box is the unique unit for each nation. So you have to have the right color for each nation, or otherwise you won't have the right miniature. So this is an anti-tank gun for the Austrians, for example. I mistakenly thought it was these black units over here. What I did not realize is that I have a expansion pack. So this is called the Special Forces expansion pack. And I guess it's sold separately unless you backed it. And I don't know if I backed it. I don't even remember what I backed when I kickstarted this. So, but it came with it for me. So to me, this was all one game, but this is a special expansion pack. So, a lot of extra rules, not a lot, but I mean, there's extra rules that go with these. Okay, next thing. I think I covered oh my gosh, I explained the rules wrong part. The rest of this is just simply, as far as setup goes. So what you can see here is I set up all the units on their respective spots. There are 2 copies of every unit. So for example, this, if you look here, is a fighter aircraft, right? And there's 2 of them. I know somebody on Board Game Geek, when I went and checked for the solo rules, which is not posted there, by the way. It should be, if anybody's generous enough to try to do that. So somebody complained that there wasn't enough units for the game. This is not a very big map, folks, and 2 copies of each unit seems like a lot, but they do give you a 3rd copy in the format of this. So you could use this in a pinch if you needed a 3rd copy. Technically, there is no limit to the number of units that you can have, so if you want to buy 10 of one unit, you can. I think money is going to be a lot tighter than that, but the point being that you're not component limited. It's just, people want the miniatures and not, to have to use pennies and nickels and coins or those. The other thing is the game gives you these, which I thought was pretty interesting because remember, this is for the experience points and damage. So you can take your little, doohickey and you can see there it plugs in. So, it just slides in. And so then you can have your experience and damage attached to that unit. I thought that was really, really cool. So I left a couple of these out for you so you could see how that works. And every nation has, I don't know, maybe a half dozen or so of these that you can use. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them, in fact. So if you were to buy 8 of these little chips, you can at least attach 8 of them there. If you go beyond 8, then I guess you're screwed. You'll just have to make do. You're not necessarily in trouble. Okay, next. Let me get this rule book out of the way. I'm assuming this comes with the base game, but I ended up getting these miniatures for the forts. They don't do anything special other than they just sit up a little higher. They do have some nice spots on top for you to put things. I still, I can't vouch for the fact that that comes with the base game, but they are neat, and of course we're going to use them. The last thing is that the setup says that you start with all 11 of your units. And that threw me for a loop, and it still does, to be quite honest. But I'm going to just slide over here, the Austria-Hungary. And of course, because of the way my table is set up, all right, so I have 2 of each unit. So let's say I do 1 plane, 1 of their anti-tank, 1 tank, 1 of these, 1 of these, 1 of those, 1 of those, and 1 of those, and 1 of those. Clearly, you're going to see 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So I have 10 out of 11. Okay, so the rule book does say that you have regular infantry and then you have mounted infantry. So I'm assuming that the mounted infantry is the 11th unit. It does not ever tell you what the 11th unit is. I'm just assuming that is. Okay, I think it's a good assumption. Because here's the only thing that causes it to be wonky. There are 4 howitzers. So the howitzer is this guy right here. And then there's another model that looks like a field gun. And so the rules do explain that 2 of the nations have howitzers and 2 of the nations have field guns. All of the units have the exact same stats. They may have different looking miniatures, but the stats are exactly the same except for the howitzers. So I think one of them has like longer range and the other one does more damage or something to that order. I can look it up for you if you really are that concerned. But what they did was every set of miniatures comes with both. So, for example, this particular nation only has howitzers. So the field gun really shouldn't be in the game. I think just for easy printing purposes, when they made these miniatures, they just made both types and you got both. There is no field gun for the Austrian army. Now, if you go to the British over here, they use field guns, but they don't have howitzers. So every nation has that same dilemma. So what my thoughts are is, okay, we take the field guns out. We could always use them as proxies, right? Later, if I want to buy 4 artillery. But I'm just going to throw those back in the box. And when we're deciding what our 11 units are, you could theoretically argue that you get the howitzer and the field gun, except there are no field gun stats. With the infantry, it does at least explain to you that right here, a regular infantry moves at a 2, and then a mounted infantry moves at 3. And so also the regular infantry and the mounted infantry have different costs for purchase. But if you look down here at the howitzer, there's only one price. So it's not like you can buy a howitzer and a field gun. Okay, I'm hoping that makes sense. Like I said, the rules don't say it at all. But I think that by process of intuition and common sense, that I ruled out all the possibilities, and this is really the only way it should be. If anybody disagrees, feel free to say something. But I think that that's how this goes and how you should set up your game. Now, that is a big scar on the rule book, as far as I'm concerned. But I have to say that this rule book is quite good. The examples in it are awesome. I wish every wargaming book was as good as this one. even with the error that I just explained. I mean, this was a minor kind of situation, although I have to admit it took me a good half hour to sort it out. But it was definitely minor compared to some of the other errors that people have in their rule books. So with that being said, everybody starts with 11 units. So yes, this looks like a giant mess, but it's one of each type, okay? Now, the next decision that has to be made is, are you doing a 2-player game or a 4-player game? It's one or the other. If you're doing a 2-player game, then only half the board is used. You do not use the full map. And they said that the starting points 1 through 6, which are all over on this side of the board, and 6 is right here, those are the only ones used. Now, what I don't appreciate is what is half the map. You can see here that this is where 6 is, so you could say, okay, well, we're not using this half of the map, but there is no like border. So could you theoretically go over across this bridge and sneak in that way? I mean, maybe. Now, one thing that it does say clearly is that you're only going to have 7 bunkers, which you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it is very obvious those are the 7 bunkers in the game. And then these other bunkers over here are out of the game. So even if you allow somebody to go all the way over here into this side of the map to move on to that side of the map, it's not like they can come over here and take bunkers, which is how you win the game. So, but could they run away all the way over there because they're trying not to get killed? I think you're going to have to house rule this. It says only to use half the map. Well, even with that being said, you spawn here, which means you can go as far as here, right? So can you use this bridge? Can I at least sneak over here to use that bridge to get into there? Otherwise, how do I get across this river? Oh, I have only one bridge to cross. I mean, that's some of the dilemmas you're going to have to deal with, and the rule book doesn't address that at all. It just says half a map. Okay, next. There is this cooperative mode that's in the game. So they'll say it's co-op rules. And that confused the crap out of me, because what is a co-op? This is already a co-op. France and England are already a team, and Austria and Germany are already a team. So what's this co-op business, and what does that mean? And what that is you can co-op a 2-player map. So in a 2-player map with only 7 bunkers, you can have all 4 nations in this map. And I know that sounds like insanity, but that's what co-op mode is. So they have special rules for... when you set up the game, we're going to randomly get... Every nation's going to get 1, 2, 3 of these tokens. And these 3 tokens are going to have numbers on them. And that tells you where everything spawns. Obviously, we're only going to use 1 through 6 if you're playing a 2-player game. You ignore all the other ones. And in the case of a co-op game, the way it works is nation number 1 gets this one, and only nation 1 can spawn there. Nation 2 gets this one, and only nation 2 can spawn there. And then both of them share that one. So it's a 2-player game, basically, because in a 2-player game, you're only going to have 3 spawn points because there's only 6 total. But then, you're going to use all the units for all the nation. So what does it boil down to? Well, everybody gets to play their own nation in a smaller map, which I think would just mean a quicker game. And it would mean more units, though, are going to be on the field. A whole lot more. So it's going to be a lot more carnage. There's nothing wrong with it. It just it's a little wonky in terms of the game is a co-op game from the start, but for whatever reason, when you're in co-op mode, they even have more variants on how you can set up the game. And I know this is sounding very confusing because if some of you have never played this game, I haven't either, or you're relying on me for the rules, it's like, holy crap, Jeff, what do I do then? Well, I'll try to get you through it. The first one is decide if you're going to play with half the map or the full. Okay? I would tell you that half the map is only a 2-player game and a full map is a 4-player game. That is true. However, you can do half the map with all 4 players in co-op mode. Okay? That's the way to delineate it. So if you want to do co-op mode on a half a map or 2 players on a half a map, then there's one set of setup rules that you use. So what am I doing for this game? I really wanted to just do a 2-player game because I'm going to be controlling a solo bot here. And the solo bot does have logic that could slow this down. But at the same time, I wanted to play all 4 nations because I always like to get a feel for, okay, which nation is better since they have unique units and all that jazz. So we're going to do all 4 nations. Theoretically, not theoretically, we are going to play the Allies or the Entente. And so we will be the French and the British. I happen to think that the German and the Austrians have the cooler units, but that's the reason why I chose the French and the British. I figured I wanted to play the harder of the 2. Okay, with that being said, get out all your units. Everybody's going to get 11, which this turns into quite a mess, so I haven't bothered pulling all the other units off yet. These are going to be broken up into 3. So 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. I hope I shuffled them decent enough. The player order gets determined by a die roll, or schwazi, or whatever. And it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 for setup. You don't get to look at them. That's the weird thing. And I think one of the first house rules you may want to consider is, you should at least get to see them. Because then the first player should get to choose which of the 3 they want to use. That, to me, would make a cool game. Because now there's some strategy, right? Oh, all 3 of these seem to be really close together, so I want to grab those. That gives you maybe a little bit of an advantage. But, so in player order, you go through these. And remember, like I said, you have to say, okay, for this first one, I'm going to put these 3 units on this one, even though I don't know what it is. And, these ones are going to go on this one, and then everybody else is going to go on the last one. I mean, that's what you have to do. Okay, then after that's complete, then you do a turn order again. So the turn order for placing your units is not the same as the turn order for the game. It's a small little thing. And you still do turn order even with the AI. There is no, hey, the player is always first or anything like that. So that's the first thing. So yeah, we're going to do a 4-player game. And then the other thing is you have to get these tokens out. So these tokens are, they're punch tokens. They're way better than Compass Games punch tokens because they actually punch, or decision games. Those D-Day those original D-Day games were atrocious. So they do punch really nicely. Another credit to the game. I will show you why you need these in a second, but they are needed when you're playing solitaire for setup, because we get to decide how many units are going to go in each chip, but we're going to use these to randomly decide how the solo players or the AI bot's going to do it. So you got to use these because these are not easy to shuffle, right? So I don't think you'd want to. I mean, this is a little fragile. Definitely don't want to be messing with those. Okay. What else? One other thing to consider when you're choosing which nation is that the Austrians get an extra 3 war bonds at the start of the game. Nobody else gets money, but the Austrians do. The war bonds bonus for them, it doesn't explain why they get a war bonds bonus, but they just do. And I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe their units are weaker. I have no idea. Obviously, maybe if I played a little bit, I would have a better feel. But here's the thing. If you're playing with the trench rules, which this is Trench Club, the board game, they don't get the $3 war bonus. So make sure, again, there's so many decisions you have to make just for setting up the game. So $3 bonus if you're playing the basic game. If you're going to add the trench rules, you don't get the $3 bonus. And the rulebook does explain why this is their special unit. It's an anti-tank gun, and this anti-tank gun is super powerful when it's in a trench. And so that was their explanation, is that having these in trenches gives them a huge advantage, and they don't need the extra $3 war bonus. So there you go. You have that. And I believe I read it correctly. I'm going to pause one more time, but I believe we start with no money. So let me check. Yes, I explained it perfectly. So no money, 3 war bonds. If you're Austria playing the basic game, if you're going to play with trenches, no. Now, one thing I'm concerned about is with the whole trenches thing is since the start is so random, how do I know we're going to even get a trench with my nation? And you don't. And then on top of it, I mean, I guess it simulates maybe one side is defending and so they get all the trenches. I don't know. I mean, it still seems rather scattered to me that you're going to have units just all across the board from multiple nations and none of them are cohesive. That I think bothers me the most about this game. This game is very like, if you ever remember playing Risk, you used to draw the card and that's where you would start, you know. So if I drew Siam, then that's where my headquarters would be. And I had to start the game in Siam and then maybe I would draw more, or actually, no. You would draw multiple cards and then put one army in each of those spots. And then eventually you get to pick where your headquarters is, right? That's one way to play it. But you could have a game where one person gets like all of Australia just because of the luck of the card draws. And then there's you where 6 of your 8, countries you start in are in Asia. And, good luck with that kind of start. And so in that case, you're putting all your armies in the 2 spots that's not Asia, usually. So anyways, getting back to this game, there's a lot of that as well. But at least in Risk, you got to see where you were going before you committed your troops. Here, you have to commit your troops before you even see where you're going to go. So that's, I think, I would recommend, without even playing this game, that there's going to be some house rules there. Okay, enough of that. I've spent enough time talking all the different variants. Let's play ball. All right, so I'm going to roll for myself. Basically, I'm going to pause the game so you don't have to wait for me to open all these bags. 1 second. All right, done. Okay, so we're going to take 1 die from each nation. And just to reiterate, this is Austria, England, France, Germany. Now, you are going to see that this gray die obviously matches the gray units, which is good. But there's going to be times when it looks black, and that's still meaning gray. Now, the reason I get confused and I don't like it is because we actually have black units on the board. If they didn't have units that were black, then it would be a lot easier. So I'll show you at the times when that comes up. I know it exists because I've been looking at it and dealing with it, and I think... Gosh, when we come across it, I'll point it out to you. But I know it's more than just looking at the sheets. I would swear it was somewhere else in the game too. But bear with me. I will. It'll come to me. I know I saw it somewhere. All right. So here we go. Well, actually, right there. Those are black. That's. I mean, I'm not saying that was my example, but yes, there's a situation where it's happening. Okay. So we're going to roll to see who goes first. And of course I made a mess. And let's see if I can at least do numbers correctly. 6, 7, 9, and 1. So there we go. Funny enough, I have these guys out first. And the way it says to do it with the AI... Oh, this is there. This is where I'm talking about. Right here. Look at this. Those are black, not gray. This is what, yeah, so that's gray. That is black. Okay, these represent Germany. Oh yeah, let's get back to this topic. That looks pretty gray to me, doesn't it? To you, doesn't it? Except this is that. All right? So this is this unit right here. Which you can, at least they look alike. I mean, that part you could use. So, but the colors are a little off. This is very black, which it should be gray, and then these are very gray when they should be white. I don't know. I don't like the color choices, but trust me, we'll live with it just fine. So here's what we do. We take a cup, and you put all the gray units in there. See, I keep using the word gray. White, the Austrian-Hungary ones, and then you put the Austrian-Hungary flag in there as well. And I'll explain what that means in a second. And then we're going to draw from a cup. So how many do we draw is a die roll. I'm going to make sure. First, put all the nation's military units in a cup. Roll 2 dice for the first location. The difference between the 2 dice is the number of units that you put in that location. And if you roll doubles, re-roll. Pull that many tokens from the cup and put the corresponding units at that location. Okay, so we'll go through this again real quick. So here's the first one. It's location number 1. And just to help out, here's the map, and location 1 is way back there, which I'm not going to appreciate reaching, but that's where the first location is. So I'm just going to take these 2 dice and roll them. And so you can see I got a 6 and a 3. So the difference is 3. So we're going to draw 3 chips out of the cup. So I'm just reaching in. I'm trying to grab 3. 1, 2. Here we go. 1, 2. And we got the special one. Okay. So what does this mean? Well, first of all, this one is the, what is it? That's like the field gun, right? No. Yeah. So here's one way you can check. That is actually the field. Oh, look at this. Field gun on one side, mounted infantry on the other. Holy crap. How do I know which one's which? That's not very good. So that's a mounted infantry, and then there's, oh my gosh. All right, 1 second. That is just mind-blowing. Are they all like this? Yeah, they are. Okay, 1 second. Okay, the rules do say that they have 2 sides, and it says use the side that has the rounded punch corners. What the heck is a rounded punch corner? Do you see a rounded punch corner? I mean, the whole thing is round. Rounded punch corners. I don't understand what that means. They both look exactly the same, other than the picture. Rounded punch corners. Let's look at another one. I don't see any round. Come on. Okay, I paused again, and I was really kerfuffled by this. But do you see this? So if you look at the edge, this side here is whiter than this side. So I mean, just look. See, like, this is predominantly white versus that. Let's see if they're all this way. I mean, they seem... So, like, I would argue that that is the front side. And then if we do this, that is painful. You know, my recommendation is you just roll a freaking die. There's 10 of them here. And then whichever one you roll, that's the one you get. I mean, this is very painful. I mean, let's grab a different one for a different nation. Yeah, look, there's one side that is just predominantly whiter than the other, isn't there? So I would argue that that is the front. right? See that? Let's randomly grab one from England. Yeah, the one on the bottom is the front. Wow. I've never seen a game use that kind of mechanic before. Not that that's innovative or one that should be replicated, but wow. It sort of stinks, to be quite honest, but it's doable. We can get through this, right? So we rounded them, and if you're ever confused, because this is actually a picture of a howitzer, but if you don't know that that's a picture of a howitzer, see that number 3 that's written on there? What you do is you can come over here and you can see, okay, well, maybe it's a field gun. Well, the field gun has a 4 and a 6, right? Well, maybe it's the heavy mortar, right? This is the heavy mortar over here. Sorry, I got these coming off. The heavy mortar here, that is a, what is that? Oh, that's a 3. Oh, but this one's also a 3. So I was really hoping that they would be all different, but so they're not. I'm being made into a little bit of a fool here. However, that does not look like a howitzer or a mortar, a heavy mortar. So it looks like a howitzer. I guess you could confuse it with an anti-tank gun, but you can at least see that it's not an anti-tank gun. But we're going to go with howitzer. So that would be this one, right? And then this one is, that's an anti-aircraft, which is here. All the anti-aircrafts are basically truck-towed. And then this one, what does that mean? Well, the solitaire rules gives the AI bot a bonus that you don't get. This special expansion pack over here, these are units you can purchase, and they get one for free. So they're going to get one right now. So let's go ahead and roll a die. I rolled an 11. Of course, there's only 8 of them. So 12. There we go. I rolled a 2. So they're going to get this special unit right here. And this belongs to Austria-Hungary. And what this is it's a poison gas launcher. Okay. So that unit is theirs to use as they see fit. A couple of things when you're looking at this. This is their movement points. This means that they can be towed. They can be put into a transport truck. This is the amount of damage they do, green, and then the amount of damage they do yellow, and the amount of damage they do red. Not damage. I mean, yeah. Actually, no. It's. I explained it better the last time. When you roll dice, you need that number or less to hit. Okay. This is the range. So 1 to 3. Some of them can't hit, close range, which is considered close combat in this game. And it says it hits the target hex and the adjacent 6 hexes, friend or foe, but not itself. So it'll hit everything around as well. So this is pretty nasty. And then this is if it takes a number of hits, this is how much damage it actually receives. The cost to purchase one, and this is a repair number, which I need to look up again. But yeah, I need to look that up. I don't think it's a cost to repair. It means something else. But let me look that up. I don't want to guess on that. But anyways, that's basically what this is, and this is now permanently theirs. There's now 7 more available for purchase, and of course 1 more is going to go because there's 2 enemies that we're up against. All right. Okay, I did look it up. It is the repair cost, so you do have to pay to repair your units, and that's war bonds as well. So, okay, all of these go around space number 1. One of them goes exactly in space 1, and then the other ones go around it. Since we have artillery, I will probably surround it. And let's move the camera up. It's wrapped around my foot, the cord is. Okay, so there's space number 1. We'll go ahead and actually put our special unit there, and then the anti-aircraft, and the artillery, like so. Okay, so one of the key things is that we need to take forts. And the thing that sort of stinks about this, and I guess this is where the AI gets a disadvantage, is I don't believe any of those can take a fort because it needs to be a ground unit, and I don't think the artillery is considered a ground unit. So before I keep speaking out of turn, let me make sure. Okay, I was spot on. So these are the only units that can take a fort. Any unit can move into a fort once you own it. But in order to take a fort, it has to be what's called a foot soldier. And it is defined as infantry, mounted infantry, heavy infantry, and tank gunners. Those are the only ones. And then the only units in Austria is the only one that has tank gunners. So really it's only 3 units for everybody else. Okay, so we're going to take all night if I belabor all this, but let's keep going. All right, so we're going to draw the next one now. We're going to roll our 2 dice, and 12 minus 5 is 7. Oh, geez. How many are there? So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there's only 1 left. So that'll be the last one. So whatever this spot is, spot number 11, is right there. I'm just trying to make room for the camera here. Okay, so using our stupid little test, that would be a mounted infantry. And we're going to know if this works, by the way, because if I do this test and we never run out of units, or we never pick a unit we already used, then that means this is actually correct way to interpret it. Okay, that's the heavy mortar. We'll put that one there. And here's what stinks is there's not that many spaces around it. So we got this, which is armored car. Then we got one more we could use for the bridge, and it is a tank. All right, so now what do we do? Oh, one more spot, my apologies. And it is a foot soldier. So we got 2 soldiers there. So now what do? I got 2 more, and there's nowhere to put them. They actually go back in the cup. So even though we drew a 7, they go back in the cup. So we basically have 3 units that are going to go in the last one. And the last one is 2. And I am going to go through the eyeball exercise because I just want to make sure that we really are going to pick the remaining units and we won't have any left. So let's do that. And I feel like I'm missing something. So we'll resolve that in a second as well. So first off, this is the transport truck. So transport truck is going on number 2. Where is number 2? Well, the Austrians got themselves a nice little monopoly here. They have this north end of the map pretty well covered. So transport truck. Then right, so it would be this one. That's the heavy infantry, which is this guy. We'll put him there. And then the last one is the biplane. And we'll put that there. And I have 1 unit left, which is their special unit, the field gun. So I need to figure out what's going on with that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 tokens. So how did I screw this up? I drew 1 too many, or because like I ran out of tokens. That's my issue. I must have drawn one too many. So let me see, is a field gun on any of these? Yep, it is. But it's not on, that's the wrong side. Hmm. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. So, oh, I see. Yeah, there's only 10 tokens, but there's 11 that we're placing. So, what a weird game this has been so far. Okay, problem solved. It was my mistake. One of these was pre-punched when the game arrived and was actually in the game tray. So it was buried under here beneath the war bonds. So there's 11 tokens for all the other nations, and I was able to figure that out while the game was paused. And sure enough, if you look at this and you see what the stronger white side is, and there she be, the field gun. So we'll just put her on the final spot, and where they go is up to us to decide. You could randomize it. I really don't want to. I'm already spending way too much time showing how to set up this game. I'm not going to randomize it. The next thing I want to point out, and I forgot to mention this, is when we rolled the dice for who goes first, it's, of course, it's Austria-Hungary, then it's going to be Britain, but it has to be Germany next. It alternates. Actually, you know what? That's for whenever you're actually playing the game. It doesn't have to be that way in this situation. We'll still do this, but when we're actually playing the game, it has to alternate. You can't have both allies going back to back. That would be brutal on both situations, no matter whose advantage it is. Okay, this is out of the game. You don't need these anymore. So next, we move to us. So we got the British ones, and we get to do this ourselves. I have no idea what I'm going to get. But here's what I do know. This, I'm just grabbing them one at a time. It cannot take anything. It's also very hard for it to get hit. This is sort of like the, if you're playing Stratego, this is like your Marshal. But there is the spy out there that can take this thing down, and that's the anti-aircraft gun. So you always have to be careful about that. But as long as we avoid the anti-aircraft gun, this guy is basically just a killing machine. All right. I don't think it does hits real easily, but you get what I mean. So, but I'm going to put that with somebody. But if I knew where the places were, I would pick the one that's going to be closest to the front line. But I don't get that advantage. We do get this smaller. This is our special tank. It's not as good as a regular tank. And then we get a regular tank. Our howitzer. Oh, these ones get field guns, so I'm going to put the howitzers away. Field gun. So we're going to get, I want infantry to be able to take bunkers at each location. So I'm going to go 1, 2, and 3. Because those are the only units that can take a bunker. So I'm going to make sure there's one at every location, so I can take 3 bunkers. I mean, that's the name of the game, is to take and hold the bunkers. Everything else is just pudding. Now, this transport unit can only move things, certain things. So what can it move? It can actually move this heavy mortar. It can move the field gun. It cannot move the tanks. And this has its own little truck. So for me, the 2 infantry goes with the transport. That makes sense to me. And the 2 artillery. Now, the problem is, do you really want the 2 artillery in the same location? I probably want one of these artillery to at least be helping elsewhere. That's the dilemma. So here's where my mind is. is if I give a tank to each of these, then I don't feel so bad with giving 2 artillery to help him. And then the transport. So I'm going to have 4 on that one. And then I have an anti-aircraft. And then I have my aircraft. So I will do this and this, and we'll call it a day. Actually, I'm going to switch it around. This is my really good tank. And then we'll use this over here. So I don't know, for lack of a better thing, that's what we'll do. Now, the game does recommend something. So let me at least read to you what it recommends. Because it says if it's your first game, just do this and don't worry about it. So what it recommends is a mounted infantry, an armored car. Oh, I forgot to grab an armored car. Yeah, here we go. We got an armored car we got to put out too. And mounted infantry, armored car, fighter aircraft. Oh, so look, mounted infantry, fighter aircraft. And so it's saying put the armored car there. Well, this is our special unit, so I did that instead. Next it says Group 2, infantry, the tank, which is over here, the howitzer or field gun, which is over there, the anti-aircraft unit, which is over here, and then Group 3, it just says the rest. So, I don't, let's see, I'm going to put this, I'm going to put this over here. There we go. So that's what we're going to do with Britain. All right, so let's see where we're going to end up. First spot is number 7. I'm just looking on the map to see where even number 7 is. Oh my gosh, it's on the opposite end of the map. Way up there. Okay, well, we're near some bunkers, that's for sure. So I'm going to put and then I'm going to put the infantry here and the truck there. That's actually not a bad spot to have your truck because it's sort of like way in the back. But it all depends on where everybody else ends up. Okay, next one. Number 10. Okay, we're getting some cohesion. Number 10 is over there. So I'm going to go ahead and put our anti-aircraft here, my infantry there, my tank, and the armored car. Okay. Then the last one, 3. That's all the way on the other end of the map. So we got our lighter tank, our airplane, and I'm going to go ahead and put my infantry right there, mounted infantry. All right, so this is, I mean, it's definitely shaping up to be an interesting start. That's for sure, certain. Okay, so that's done. Speaking of which, these tokens, they're more or less out of the game unless you start to need to buy more units than you have miniatures for. So I don't need them to take up special table space. These tokens, of course, you can use to show who owns a fort, because even if you completely abandon a fort, it's still yours until somebody actually comes and takes it. So I can just set that aside. And yeah, they're double-sided like this. So, you know, like that says it's France or Britain. But we don't need the French or Britain ones and our tokens for setup because we're setting it up ourselves. We don't have to use special rules. So I'm just going to set all this stuff off to the side, which gives me more room for my dice. And let's take some dice and bring those in. Okay. I do have this little, this is actually a very handy quick reference. I know I haven't played a game yet, but trust me, this has some excellent information on it. I'm just going to set this off to the side for now. And we're just going to use this for our dice. All right, now we move to the French. And we have 1, 2, 3. So let's grab everything again. So we had a plane. They have a special tank. So the Allies are all about the tanks. And so I think we put those on that one. I'm just going to set up the same arrangement. I'm not going to put too much thought into this. Armored car was... he was over here, actually. I didn't even realize I did that. These guys use the howitzers, so the field guns are out. Let's get those off the map. So we put that back there with the transport and the big mortar, the infantry, cavalry, the heavy infantry, and anti-air, which went... Ooh. Yeah, over here. Okay, first one, number 5. Number 5 is right here. So this one's a little more precarious of a start. And then we also have our first dilemma. So I put the mounted infantry here to take this fort, but we're actually starting next to that fort. So I'm going to put the infantry there. And let's put the truck. Oh, it's got to be around him, huh? Everybody's in the forest with that one. So the truck's in the forest too, which is unfortunate. Okay, that's sort of a crappy place to start. Although having artillery in the middle of a forest means it might take a while for others to be able to, because for movement point purposes, it might take them a while to get there. This one's number 8. So 8 is way up here. So again, I can put that there to take that fortress. We got both of our planes over here, but their anti-aircraft is right there. So that's not very, very good. And then do I want my tank to be on this side or that side? I don't think it matters. I'll just put him on the bridge for now. Okay, and then the last one, 4, which that one does help us actually quite a bit because we now have a monopoly on this corner of the board, which means they're going to have a monopoly somewhere else. But so I can put this guy here to get our tank up there. Can get this guy there on the road. And then there's our anti-aircraft, probably in the most useless spot, although they do have a plane up there, so I guess that's something. Okay. Now we go to the last one, which requires chips in the cups. And this is the one I counted, by the way. I do have all 11 chips this time, so none of these shenanigans of me wondering where the last one was. Let's roll some dice. 10 minus 1 is 9. Jeez Louise. So just, let's just draw. It's going to be on space 12, which is this one. So there's no river or anything next to it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to draw 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry. 5, 6, 7. Okay. So we know one of these is the special unit, so let's roll for that. I rolled a 12, 3. So 1, 2, 3 is this is very appropriate for Germany. Germany has the railway gun. Yeah, that's actually very thematic. Okay, so we'll go ahead and put the railway gun right there. And yes, that belongs to Germany, and that is a behemoth. So, all right, that's done. Next. That is the What is that? Oh, that's their special gun. It's called the Big Bertha. So they got a railway gun and a Big Bertha. Jeez Louise, this is going to be the ground. This is going to be the shock and awe section of the thing. And then we got ground infantry. Go ahead and put that there. And the cavalry. Put that over here. What are you? That is the heavy mortar. So they just got a super team there. What is that? I can't even tell. Oh, heavy infantry. All three of their infantry are here. That's actually a big disadvantage for them and their tank. It's actually a very large disadvantage for them to have all their infantry in one place like that. They will get 2 bunkers pretty quick, right? But yeah. Okay, so that's that one. So now we do the next one. That's a 7, so that means there's going to be nobody at the 3rd spot, and that's per the rules. So the 3rd spot was a 9, which is there, so nobody's going there. And by the way, we had that option too. We could have chosen to put all of our units in just 1 or 2 spots, or you can't do just one because it's impossible to surround one spot. Like you're not allowed to go 2 spots out. But this one is at number 6, which is here. And yes, they got this little corner. And the British basically have that whole corner to themselves, which I think we have a huge advantage. And this is already a gripe I have with this game, is it's not a very balanced start, I don't think. I think that the AI actually has a very disadvantaged start. Now, we could verify all the tokens, but we know it's all the remaining units. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just so I don't lose my sanity. And sure enough, 1, 2, I got to get rid of their howitzers. 3, 4, and 5. Okay, looking at the units. Oh, I need to be more careful because this one doesn't have as many spaces available, but it does have 5. So we're good. I will go ahead and put their plane there, and that's their situation. Okay, so coming back, looking at the board, Austria-Hungary is very strong in the back and then has a strong presence at this bridge. Germany is completely and entirely here. France has a very strong presence here and then across the river, so they're very close together. They form a nice little front. Britain is the only area back there, or the only nation back there in that corner, and then they have a small little presence here, which is not enough to take on Austria-Hungary. So that is the setup of the game. From this point, we now roll to see who goes first. So let's go ahead and do that. How am I doing on time? I'm just at an hour. We'll keep going. And, well, what a roll this was. So the clear winner was Austria-Hungary. So they're going to go first. Then one of us has to go. So it doesn't matter which one. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick France. And then Germany, no matter what, goes third. And then England goes fourth. Okay. So that's going to be the order. And the reason I chose England last is I don't think England... Although England could get attacked here. They're like the closest to Austria-Hungary, but Austria-Hungary goes first no matter what. And so Germany, though, goes before Britain, and that's fine because Germany is nowhere near Britain. So they're here in the corner. Britain is way off in the corner there, or their only threat is Austria-Hungary, who always gets to go first, so they can't mitigate that. But France going before Germany is a possible mitigation, and that's where my mind was. Okay. How do you denote turn order and remember it? That's a great question. They don't really give you much, except for you have these tokens. So what I would say is we do Austria-Hungary, and then we're going to do France, then Germany, and then Britain. And we can just set it along the side of the board or something. And, because if you ever go eat dinner or go between videos, we can maybe put like a die on one of them. And, that's whose turn it is, right? We could do something like that. Okay. So what does a person do on their turn? How does all that work? We should probably make this the next video because then it could be nice and clean. We just did setup. We'll do actual play in the next video, which makes me a little bit of a liar because I said we were going to do both. And I apologize for that. I didn't realize setup was going to take this long. I think if you had more players than just yourself, it really doesn't take this long. And obviously, having to explain all the different variants makes it take longer. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think this is that bad of a setup, but obviously it was an hour. So yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. We're going to end the video here. I actually have the energy to do another video, so I will roll another one out tonight. And I'll get this one uploading right away while I'm recording the next one. So, whenever some of you get a chance, you'll actually have 2 to watch. So even though it's broken up into 2 videos, you will at least get example of play. So thank you very much. And as always, stay awesome and please stay healthy and safe.